Treaty Principles Bill.
Yay!
Not
My
quite. Not
favorite.
quite. Not quite the segue. But it might be your favorite. Eru Kapa-Kingi was speaking, did
I
his
mean,
oral submission. So, I mean, we can't be too mean. But I'll do his second because I feel like he really has the final punch. But Jenny Shipley was one of the people who spoke this week.
haven't
And
seen her in a while.
I know. And so we were traveling, my partner and I were traveling in the car on the way to Wanaka, whatever it was last week. And in the car, oh, my headphones just pulled out. In the car, we were talking about, I don't know how we managed to get onto it, but we went through a history of the parliamentary cycle since like the 1900s, basically. Because I was asking him, like, can you just look up what Rogernomics is? I feel like an idiot. People say things about Tim Bolger and Rogernomics, and I'm like a little bit in the dark about the stuff. So we went through the whole history, and I'm like, oh, okay, so this person preceded this person, and this is
Mhm.
what this was.
It's like a family
Um,
tree.
I know, and now I'm like, oh, I get it now. Now I know why these people are hated and loved. Jenny Shipley.
Yeah.
um, Jenny Shipley was the first Nationals' first female prime minister and also leader.
Hmm.
She was one of the first. She formed one of the first MMP governments with New Zealand First, so Winston Peters. They only made it through. They were a one-term government, and that was when Winston pulled out and broke. Pulled out.
Gross.
A little bit too late. And that's when the government fell over, and then she handed over the keys, the throne, handed it over to Helen Clark, who was our third female prime minister, if I'm not mistaken.
No, well, no, because Jenny Shipley was our first unelected female prime minister.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So she didn't actually win.
No, so it was kind of like, how like
Mm.
sometimes, like how at the end of Jacinda's term, she left and Chippy got the last little ride in
Yes.
the school bus.
Yes. Yep. She rolled Bulger. Yep.
Yeah.
So
And
she
Helen
didn't.
won.
Yes, yes. Okay, okay. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying. This is what I mean. This is secondhand history lesson. So thanks, Chad. Thanks, Chad. Thanks for correcting me. Anyway, Jenny Shipley. From what I could see, she was pretty conservative back in her day, but also progressive in some areas, such as LGBT rights and women's rights, which I mean makes
It
sense. Like,
wasn't hard to be progressive back then, to be
yeah,
fair.
yeah, it's the 90s, and being conservative was like she was trying to lower abortion rates, and it's kind of like the 90s was like she's
Yeah.
clearly aged and learned a lot of things, and like I can appreciate that she's been out in the world and actually learned some things. So her submission against the bill was fantastic. Personally, I'm glad that she came
Surprising.
out and she was a little bit, yeah, a little bit surprising.
Yeah,
I'm glad that she
surprising.
came out and said, "Fuck you, government. What are you doing? This ain't it. I didn't sign up for this. This is not the way it should be." So I'm just gonna play a wee bit of her submission because she's so eloquent too. I love it. I love it. I love an eloquent submission. You know, that's my go-to. So we'll just listen to a wee bit of it. She's talking about she's really appalled at. She's really amazed at how far we've come, but she is not happy with where we are going.
Mm.
Essentially. Lay.
Douglas Graham and Doug Kidd, and of course, more recently, Chris Finlayson, who worked with some of the giants who go way back, even Venn Young, who had the courage to say, in the context of the treaty, the loss of the language is indefensible, and worked with other Māori leaders to bring recovery. And our generation is now inheriting the success. And that's why I take deep offence that where we are starting to try over the last 50 years to rebuild some credibility around this relationship, that we would allow ourselves to be diverted. And the degree of depth and anguish and division, not only amongst Māori, and I'm very conscious that my colleagues from Ngāpuhi are behind me, and my dear friend Miri, who I walk with together as we try and think our way forward in what the future looks like, as we learn from the past and let it inform the future. But as the treaty force.
So I love that she acknowledges that So what she was talking about at the beginning there was during her time in sort of the 90s and the early 2000s, there was, or even before that, there were amazing Māori leaders in not only politics, but who do we speak about who recently passed away, who spearheaded te reo in schools and bringing back the language.
Iritana.
Iritana. I'm pretty sure she might have mentioned it just before this clip started, but those sorts of people that were really high up in Māoridom and sort of standing on the shoulders of giants, right? That's who she's referencing there, and look how far we've come, and now what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, which is still, again, surprising considering, as a lot of the chat is saying, she's still very conservative. So I'm genuinely so surprised, why she's bothered. Maybe she wanted to get some good press. I don't know. Seems random.
I don't know. It could be her coming to the light. It could also be her showing that she's changed. It could be that she's learned things. I don't know.
Could be a broken clock. Don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I think it's the I feel like it's kind of the Shane Jones thing again of why are you going in this direction when in the past you were doing other things that this seems really, you're just gone complete. It feels like there's two directions. You either go progressive and then you get to a point and then suddenly you've switched and you're just an old man, an old fart that should just move on and can't change their minds. Or there's maybe perhaps this where maybe Jenny Shipley had more of a conservative view of the world because of her, upbringing or the people around her or the situation she was in. Once she was no longer in perhaps parliament or, in politics, she was able to reach out and do different things and actually learn about her community a bit more and actually gather a bit more of a understanding of the world, perhaps.
Maybe.
And maybe that's where she's at now. I don't know. I can't speak for them.
That would be nice.
How many of them are Jenny Shipleys and how many of them are Shane Jones? I don't know. I'd really hope there's more Jenny Shipleys out there than there are Shane Jones, but it doesn't seem to be, sadly.
What a wild sentence to have to say in 2025.
Simon Hughes says, Jenny Shipley is in line with traditional National Party policies on the treaties issue, and there are many people who have opposed the treaty principles for different reasons. I think it's just I think it just shows how really, really bad this bill is. Poorly written, constitutionally a terrible idea. And it's not a fight worth fighting. I think that's just what it comes down to.
It's not even about it's not worth fighting. It's not worth spending however many millions of dollars David Seymour's wasting on this fucking thing. Yeah.
I mean, yes, it is a fight worth fighting, and Kapa-Kingi talks about this in his show in a second. But it's not a fight we should be fighting, I guess.
Or money we should be wasting.
Yeah. And there's just a wee comment at the end here, which is sort of goes to show where we are in Parliament. And she kind of acknowledges that we are where we are with the kind of government demographic that we have because of Te Tiriti, essentially.
Treaties such as we have. I think the question is whether this Parliament is capable of seeing this bill off, but encouraging people into a space where we bring this conversation back together, where we can value and respect difference. This Parliament is already a manifestation of Article 1. It is one of the most diverse parliaments in the world. Māori are more represented than the numbers, and that's a success of the treaty. No political party thinks it's electable unless it has Māori and Pākehā as candidates, and that's a success.
I would disagree. I think there's definitely parties that think they can get away with it. But
I'd also say,
it's true,
also
right?
Yes, but at the same time, our government has never, since we signed Te Tiriti, ever been set up in how it was envisioned to be. It is the current government we have is a Westminster system that was imported from Europe. So even saying that, I get what she's trying to go on in that we have a lot more of a diverse government. And yes, that is true. We have a Māori party, but I don't really know if I fully agree with that because our government, had it actually been established correctly from the beginning, would look wholly different now. So
Yeah. I guess it's one of the things from her point of view. She's seeing a success, but the rest of us perhaps are saying it's not good enough, you know? But, you know, that could just be her point of view, I guess, where she's standing. She's like, oh my God, look how diverse it is from my point of view. But we're just like, no, it's not good enough. It's still not good enough.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I mean,
still
this government's
criticisms,
definitely not good enough.
yeah, exactly. Still criticisms valid, but I appreciate what she's saying here. I'll continue.
It's not in the law. We are living the treaty. People are seeing themselves in the context of the treaty. And my challenge to myself and all of us as we look ahead is to ask, are we participants in the treaty or observers? This bill...
Nice. I think it's just a nice, you know, are we participants or are we observers? And I think we should all be participants, right? We should all be participating in the future of our country and have a discussion, not just between ourselves, not just between parliamentaries, not just between bureaucrats, but between ourselves, with Māori.
I mean, just in general, people should be more active in terms of educating themselves about politics, trying to make other people aware of certain things. Like, there's a lot of things that we should be doing in terms of that, and try to actually do these things, because, like, obviously we have to fight the policy side, but then we also ourselves have to be knowledgeable enough to know what we're doing. I think that's why a lot of us come to this kind of community, so that we can become more knowledgeable, because I think most of us can, acknowledge that we don't know everything, but we'd like to understand more. It's just very difficult to understand some of this stuff sometimes.
I mean, I'm the first to admit when I'm like, I'm dumb, I don't understand. Please help me. Because some of it is just a little bit big language for me, but
no.
And
it's done like that on purpose. It's made very inaccessible, and like there's a whole big conversation that can be had about the way our systems are made to be unnecessarily obtuse and difficult in order to kind of keep people out.
Yeah. The second one that came out this week was Kapa-Kingi, our favorite person, leader of the most recent Hikoi, and is he leader of Te Tiriti?
One of the main
the organizers, probably the better word for it, isn't it? Main organizers, especially of the Hikoi that happened. His submission is really beautiful, and this is something that really stood out for me. He's basically saying that because the bill is drafted in a certain way or put forth in a certain way, which basically just completely ignored, experts and then the, Waitangi Tribunal and everything, just decided to do it on the whim because David Seymour's a heart. He's saying essentially that he's forced Māori to participate in a system that does not benefit them. Essentially what we're saying about government, right? It's a system that's not set up for Māori, but for the colonizers.
Yep.
Me. The ancestors. The ancestors.
My final point before we get into the apartheid, do not get it twisted that our participation in this process gives it any legitimacy. Forced participation is not really participation at all. Realistically, we have little to no alternative options. Think about it like this. If you are locked in a burning house, of course, you are going to try and put out the fire. We have indeed been white-mailed into a discussion within a government, neither of which should even exist in the first place. That's the perverse irony of our reality as tangata whenua.
Just, you got spitting bars, dropping mics.
Hell yeah. I mean, and that's exactly it. Like, when I actually just learned like the history of like he whakaputanga and Te Tiriti, my brain just went, wait, what? Okay. The legitimacy of that beehive place is starting to look pretty fucking precarious, if you ask me.
Hmm.
Also, I'm not sure if you're aware, but this is Maria Mino's son.
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure we're all aware that our other fave.
Yes.
Such
And
a cool
gonna,
whānau.
I know. I was going to mention her before as someone who speaks in really plain language, which I really appreciate. She seems to be. I think her and Kieran are two people that have really stood out for me that don't talk like politicians.
Nah.
They talk like normal people,
Mm-hmm.
and I really appreciate it because I kind of need more normal speaking people in order to. Well, I mean, for the general population needs normal speaking people in Parliament to help us understand what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm. And also, a fun fact here from Kai Matara. Did you know the beehive was made by Māori put into forced labour? So not only did they force the labour to create the beehive, now they're forcing Māori to participate in this bullshit.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
The more you know, right? It's worse and worse.
Mm-hmm. Sure does.
And the next thing that Kapa-Kingi says, that essentially the government has opened the door to racism, which is very true.
What this process does give legitimacy to, however, is racism. It has given a platform to racist people to be racist and spout their toxic, shameful, and misinformed views on Māori. We feel those today, and they will reverberate across our future generations. For that fact alone, all of you who sit in government and enable these spiritual attacks on our people should hang your head in absolute shame.
Yeah.
For shame.
For shame. There are so
fucking
many parts
was.
of his submission that you could
Just watch the whole thing. Just
You should
everybody
watch the whole
after the
thing.
show should just watch the whole thing. Absolutely.
Yes, please. It's only it's
Oh, it'd only
literally
be like what, 5 minutes?
6 minutes. It's 6
Yeah,
minutes.
well, they don't get long. They don't get long, so.
But yeah, well, it's true. But he just, I don't know. I love when people speak so plainly, and it's like, yeah, thank you. You've said it exactly. I love it. It's
Right.
yeah. But I really appreciate him saying that the system in which this bill has been created and is being run through Parliament is part of that racism, right? They've just excluded Māori altogether and they're just doing their own shit, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, even just down to the fact of, like, when Hannah did that haka in Parliament, if we had set ourselves up the way we should have, that should be something that can be done. That should be a part of the tikanga of the House. But no, we have Westminster fucking rules, which says that they have to curtsy to the speaker. They have to, like, acknowledge him when they walk out the door. They, like, this dude, like, when you do question time, this dude, like, comes out and he's like, and he, like, walks out, bloody puts it down. And it's just, ugh, I hate it.
Mm.
It's disgusting.
The further we can move from that, the better. I agree. Yeah. Be nice to see that change in the next, hopefully my lifetime, but well before then, right?
Honestly, I mean, we're too close to it nearly being 200 years since this shit started. Like, it would be nice if things get better by the time we get to the 200th anniversary, but I'm scared if I hold my breath, I'll die.